What's the big idea?
Yes, everything is running for episode number 35 now.
Nice.
Wow, we did some ranking stuff. Did you see that this week that I sent you? Remember about where we rank in the world?
Oh yes, I did.
Of volleyball podcasts.
Those in the world?
Well, I
Those
mean,
is
U.S.
Oh.
But that is the center of the.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But what did we? We're doing pretty well.
Ranked number 5.
Number 5 out of like over 100 volleyball podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only 34 episodes in. Everybody else like in the hundreds.
Yeah, we had, I don't know what it was, but like we had 8 ratings. So on that website, wherever, like they had certain ratings and all the
Reviews, you mean?
Yeah, but they called, it was probably reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the other ones had like over 100. A few of them had like 160, 180.
Well, because they've been doing it for years.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So actually one of the reviews of us was really negative.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Did you read it?
Of course I did. Of course I did. I told you about that, didn't I? Yeah, like they think that someone said that I'm pompous.
Yes.
Know-it-all.
They called you a pompous philosopher.
Comedian too. They said comedian, which I was flattered by.
I'm an aw shucks guy.
You're an aw shucks likable kind of guy.
Yeah, I was like, well.
But can you guess who that was by? Probably.
Might have been by a coach.
It felt like it felt like someone who's a coach, and I'm very adamant about the problems in coaching. And you're nice, and I'm like not nice.
Right, like you're definitely strongly opinioned, but I think that's a good thing.
And there's a reason why, right?
Age. Yeah,
like I've done everything they've done and more, and I've seen it. Right. Like so as a player and a coach who's coached a lot, played a lot. And then I went into club world with my own kids. That's the thing. That's why we did that show about do good coaches know about bad coaches? Because I didn't know how bad coaching was across the board until my kids went into club, and I was like, oh my god, it's all smoke and mirrors now. Like when I coached, all coaches like we live in our own little world, and you think that whenever you see a parent doing something or a kid doing something, you're like quitters or whatever. And then you don't know the perspective. If you were a player on one of these teams, you'd have a very different viewpoint. And also too, the other thing I have that maybe they don't have is a look at things organizationally from above. Like it's always different when you're in the field versus when you have that, I don't want to say managerial, but like that sort of view from the bird's eye view of things.
Yeah, right.
You see a lot more trends and problems across the board. And the one thing that I noticed is that they're not willing to listen. So we knew that those people were going to hate our show. Yeah. Because we lost a bunch of them from the beginning because they're defensive and they're the ones we're talking about.
It sucked. It does suck to hear that, it kind of hurts a little bit. But then I'm sitting here thinking about it and I'm like, I don't think we're not out to get anyone. I don't feel like we're here to do any malicious thing.
No.
If anything, the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing is to do the opposite. Is that, there's bad things going on. And again, a lot of these coaches out there, they're not doing it intentionally. I don't think. It's just
it's psychology. It's deeply ingrained stuff.
It's just within. It's just whatever is going on with them, and then that's what's happening. And so this is just trying to bring more light to it. So basically, all I'm saying is that after thinking about it for a while, I'm like, I really don't think we're trying to do the best we can here, basically, right? And just trying to be as honest, but and strongly opinion, but again,
we're not even trying to be strongly opinion. We're trying to be honest, like you said.
I think, and the thing about honesty, it's either this or that. It's not like
it hurts people. The truth hurts, right? Like if you're going to be like the reason. So one of the things that I knew, of course, we're going to anger the people that we're
and it's still taking me some time to get used to that. Like, we're not going to be liked by some people. Right?
Yeah, I don't even I don't even look at reviews because who complains? Yeah. Who's going to say the negative?
Right.
It's the people that are most bothered by what you're saying. So if you're speaking some truth about stuff and you're calling out some area and you're not doing it, like that's the other thing too. People think we're doing it for clickbait or we're not doing it for clickbait. It happens to be clickbait or people are tempted to listen to it because it's saying what they wish they could say, or it's hitting a spot.
It's hitting these, these pressure points and stuff.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I think that this is what, people talk about being honest, and We're being very honest here about what we've seen and why it's not a good thing. And if you're not getting people angry, then you're kind of not doing anything, right? Like if you're doing something like this, where you're talking about an industry or you want to fix something, and you're not getting anybody pissed off, then you're probably not saying anything. You're probably being very neutral.
Yeah. That's the other kind of conclusion. I
Yeah.
It's just you're being likable and you're sitting in this gray zone where then you can swing either way that you see the weather going.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can
That's the definition, I think, of weakness, and not even weakness. I have another business where, of course, I wouldn't say the things that I say, about people that bother me in the industry, because there's a different way of managing it. But in this format where we are literally trying to speak for people who don't have a voice, right? It's the player and the parent have no voice, and the good coaches don't have a voice because they can't speak up. And like we've said before, we've gotten messages from good coaches, directors and coaches who have said, keep up doing what you're doing because we can't say it. I've had 2 separate private messages from people we know, and they both said the same thing. Keep up the good fight. Keep going. We can't say it because I'm a club director. I work with people like this or whatever. Keep doing it. And we're not doing it, like, again, it's not like we're just like, it's not a strategy. It's just, as a parent who's like, I think, kind of in a unique spot, right? Like there's probably a lot of parents out there like me, but they don't have the desire, or they don't want to speak out about it maybe. But I got the organizational experience and then the coaching, playing, and now the volleyball parent. That's the thing. Because even we have discussions, and you don't know how widespread some things are.
I don't. Yeah.
Like when you came out to club, and you were just like, "Oh my god," And
and what we're going to talk about today is also
another issue.
I don't know how widespread it is.
Yeah. But, it took a while. So the bottom line is we're number 5 out of 100 podcasts. We're only 35 episodes in, so we thank you guys for listening.
Yeah,
and for we keep tracking like the YouTube subscribers.
Being noticed.
Like we're getting up on 600 now, and but we don't know that there's so we're really high on Apple, is where most of our listeners are. So on Apple Podcasts or Apple Music, I guess, and then Spotify. There's a bunch of followers there too, and a bunch of people who just probably listen and don't follow, and probably on YouTube too. So so we thank everybody for listening, and we're glad because it is a topic that we really genuinely want to help, and we're hoping that we know there will be defensive coaches who just sort of check out and say that we're idiots, and then there'll be those coaches, maybe young coaches, who've also messaged us. Like we've had good coaches saying, you've really changed the way I coach, and they're open to change, right? That's sort of who you want. That's all you can really. You got the people already who are preaching. We're preaching to a choir that agree with us. And we got the people in the middle who are like young and still willing to listen, or old and willing to listen.
When it's just if more of the conversation can start to take place, like maybe amongst the parents and the players, and you start to get more of these people that can actually catalyze and like flip or change something, and then help change the game, right?
And sometimes you say one thing where someone just changes the way the way they think about something, and I'm pretty sure we're those guys.
So does this mean I can give a shout out?
Oh yeah,
to Mike in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Division 1
coach
and ref.
Yeah,
my buddy ran into him in
North Carolina.
They were in North Carolina. That was it.
Yeah, tell the story.
I don't know the whole story, except that they
tell the part you told me.
What did I tell you?
You told me that they were down in North Carolina. And
they were. I forget what they were doing because he works in volleyball as well. And I think they were just down because his wife used to play D1 in Michigan, so they went down to meet with Mike, and I think they were just talking like volleyball recruitment and stuff like that. I'm not even sure. I don't remember.
Right.
But then, then Mike mentions that he listens to this podcast whenever he's like going to like ref games or whatever. And he tells my buddy it's Volleyballogy. Of course, my buddy knows that we're doing this, right? So he had a good laugh hearing that. And so I just played with him, what was that, last weekend? Yeah. And then he let me know that, Coach Mike is enjoying Volleyballogy.
They're talking about us in North Carolina. That's cool. Yeah, it's always nice when random stories come back to you.
It really put a big smile on my face for sure.
Interesting. And he said didn't he say it was a really cool podcast?
I think so.
Yeah, you said he was listening to this really cool podcast. That's what you sent to me anyway.
Did I?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe you're just trying to make me feel good.
I don't know. I don't know specifically what he said.
I think the exact words you used was it was a really cool podcast with a really good looking brown guy.
Yeah.
That's what you said. Do you remember that part?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's what you said.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess it's we're already rambling in, and we haven't even mentioned the topic yet. Today we are settling a debate, Eric. Right?
Well, what if? It's gonna be funny. What if Coach Mike doesn't agree with this?
Well, we're gonna be honest, and maybe
coach or ref. I don't even know if he's a coach. I think he's both. But
I
anyways.
think so. What we do here on the show is we state an opinion and then we back it up with facts.
We're about
right?
to lose a listener.
No, it's okay. No. Or maybe Mike in New Jersey will be like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way." Or maybe Mike in New Jersey will say, "That's exactly the way I thought about it. Thank you for saying it." And
true.
if he doesn't agree with us, then
he'll leave a nasty review.
maybe. No, I don't think Mike will leave it that. Not after a free shout out. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I hope not.
People pay big money for that. But so this debate today, the topic we're talking about are about ankle bracing. We're going to settle this debate because you see it all over social media. Coaches talking about it, parents talking about it, players talking about it. Some players wear them, some players don't. But before we get into the debate, I want to say this episode is brought to you by Active Ankles. So
what are you doing? Okay.
that wouldn't be right, I think, if an ankle brace manufacturing company sponsored this episode and then we came to the conclusion that turns out everybody needs ankle braces all the time, that would compromise our not that society's good at spotting conflicts of interest these days,
right? No,
but we don't want to get anyway. The people who know but that would be insane and outrageous. We would never do that.
Conflict of interest, right?
I mean, Active Ankles or any company could sponsor us, of course, but it would not affect our judgment, right?
Yeah, but
we would have to risk losing that sponsor, just as we risk losing Mike in New Jersey.
Right. And I hope we get to I don't even think that there is a debate, but I think an ankle brace can serve a purpose.
Oh,
but
you don't even think there's a debate?
No, there's no debate.
Well, okay, so let's get into it. So what I know what you're saying, and I agree with you, but there are a whole bunch of people right now who are turning off their Spotifys.
Yeah.
Spotify's like a radio, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the debate is this. So why there are coaches now, there are parents listening right now, and there are players listening whose coaches mandate, and I've seen them, there are coaches who mandate wearing ankle braces in every practice, in every game. Now, why might a coach want that?
I had a coach who did that.
Okay.
University.
It wasn't me, right?
It was not you. No.
Why did your coach want that?
He was just worried about losing a player during the season, getting a really bad ankle injury. Mind you, the ones that we were mandated, it wasn't even. We were still given freedom, discretion to wear it or not.
Which one?
Right.
Oh,
it
type?
wasn't mandated. It was highly recommended,
okay,
and
gotcha.
it was not. It was the sleeve tie up.
Yeah.
It wasn't the rigid. Well, the active ankle.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Well, I know, but does anyone else make that style?
I think so.
With the plate and the.
I think so.
And honestly, I've worn those things once, and I hate them. I can't stand it.
I tried them.
I'm like, how do you want me to move, flex my ankles? I don't know the terminology, but bend your ankles in.
Yes.
They just get in the way, and then I don't know.
I found the mobility was decreased way too much.
Yeah. The sleeve one isn't so bad. It just obviously kind of puffs your shoe out a little bit.
Yeah, and I remember you had nice lace-up ones that were old school.
Yeah,
there was definitely some flexion still there.
Yeah, and honestly, basically that thing just mimics a really good tape job. If anything, the tape job is what you get done when you've already rolled your ankle, and then you're rehab or getting it back in form after you've done the physio and everything. You might play while still recovering.
Yes.
But I think a tape job done properly by your athletic therapist or a physiotherapist, those are actually, nothing beats those, because the tape this is just me guessing, but the tape runs in certain directions that it's supporting you in the specific weak points, right? Depending on how you're injured. Whereas the tie-up ones are just great because they just kind of mimic high compression and make it harder to move it fully, right?
And you have good control over how tight you want it. Too, which is kind of handy as you want to move towards more ankle flexibility again. You can sort of loosen it as the ankle muscles get strong, or you want to strengthen stabilizers. We're kind of giving away the answers here, but
right.
But yeah, so coaches, I think number one, you get it. A coach wants to say, listen, I've seen really bad ankle sprains, and that's probably it too. A lot of coaches get traumatized by seeing some players they care about get really injured. So their hearts are in the right place. Let's not criticize the coaches for saying it, but I do like to say one really important thing to every coach out there, and what I tell them is, first of all, if you don't believe us and you don't believe anything we're going to say in this episode, which is very possible, right? Because we're just two dudes who know a lot about the game and played a lot, and rarely had ankle injuries. I had one in my whole life.
I had a really bad one, but I recovered
Me too,
really quick.
I only had one in my whole life too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've rolled it a bunch of times, but like most of them,
they bounce back.
Yeah. Like
I've only had one bad ankle roll where I had to stop playing.
Yeah.
I'm now well into my upper 20s. So no, I'm actually 48. So I'll pause while everybody like gasps in shock. We're like, we thought you were 60. Anyway, so if you don't believe anything we say, look at national team players, pro players on the courts, male, female. And the only ankle braces you will see are on like one ankle of one player or two players who have injuries like you talked about, the ones bouncing back. High-level volleyball players do not wear these stiff ankle braces. They might wear the lace-up ones. Yeah. And if they do have a stiffer one on, it's just for one foot that's recovering or has a little tweak to it, or they're afraid. Remember, it's kind of funny because I recently did my Achilles tendon, and I had a feeling that something was coming, right?
Yeah.
So I probably should have thrown on some sleeve or something tight and put some heat on it.
I don't think a sleeve would have saved you.
Well, you never.
I think it was going to happen.
Yeah, it could be.
At the pace you were going.
But you know what I mean. If I held it, if I told it I loved it a little more, maybe my Achilles tendon would have stayed.
Yeah, maybe you would have had more sensory feedback, so then you wouldn't have pushed as hard.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of why people like compression, is because it gives you a bit of that, more of that feedback. But
and it just, it does it does let you have that,
it does restrict it, so it doesn't go.
Yeah, so there's some stuff there where the swelling inside that could lead to something, and keeps everything locked in place. I don't know. I'm just pretending. I'm just living the daydream that maybe I could have been okay, but anyway. So the braces, though, you only see them on you won't see them on high level players. So that's one thing. So think about that. So the people who invest all their energy, all the trainers on the team who are paid to think about keeping those players safe, don't have them wearing ankle braces. So that's point number one. Other reason that coaches might want to, can we think of anything else?
Well, I think a big reason why they're so encouraged or mandated or whatever is that there's a lot of players that are landing under the net, like blocking and attacking, and they're using the ankle brace as a solution to that. Whereas, that's not the solution.
Don't say it.
What?
Don't say the solution.
Oh,
we want to make them listen longer.
Right. These players can't be landing under the net. That's so dangerous.
That's true.
And it's not the way you play the game. But
here's something. Do you think that the ankle brace makes players play more carelessly because they feel safer? So at the net, it might be a little more careless.
If you compare it to something. If you compare it to like hockey. Equipment and like in hockey and football and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Leather helmets. We should go back to leather helmets in the NFL.
It's just like.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
But think how careful everybody would be.
Yeah, they would.
They would all be careful. You can't go running in like a maniac.
Well, imagine playing like volleyball on hard court in your bare feet. You wouldn't be landing on your heels. That's for sure.
You don't play in bare feet?
I have.
Yeah.
And you land very differently because your body just knows.
Indoor on a court?
Yeah.
Indoor court? You played barefoot?
Yeah.
You forgot your shoes on practice or something?
No, I think it was just like messing around or something.
I wore like nudist league. You were in that nudist league, right?
Or like wearing training shoes and stuff like that. Your body instinctually lands differently.
Yes, 100%.
To prevent from slamming your heel.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I remember that nudist league you played in. I think
what?
I played in that too. Yeah, I think there was a lot of net violations.
You should see me serve the ball. I can do it without my hands.
Excuse me. See, you were busy making your joke, and then you missed my amazing joke.
Oh, yeah.
I said there were a lot of net violations in the nudist league.
Yeah, there would be.
See, that's good. It depends on the temperature of the gym. But anyway.
Different injuries, for sure.
But yours was good, too. I didn't ignore yours was good, too. Serving with no hands was funny. Yeah. That's kid show, right? Okay, so we don't have genitals. Okay, so that's basically what the world wants to hear. Right. Anyway, so no, we do. Okay, so
what was I saying?
Do we? So the idea is that coaches are out to protect players, And it seems like you're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah,
It feels really good. And if you've seen a bad injury, I think that there's something to be said for, I think players might play too loose and a little less careful at the net if they are all wearing this armor around their ankles.
I think they're like when we're young, like when I was still like learning the sport, for sure, I was making more of those mistakes of like landing under.
Yes.
Right, in my younger years.
100%.
But now, like, as an adult, like anyone, like as an adult, when we play a tournament, everyone is hyper aware of the one player in the gym who's landing under the net, and they tell everyone about them. They're like, "Hey, be careful." Yeah,
that's
it's
my
like
story.
watch out, this guy or girl or whatever. They're landing under the net a lot. Like blah blah. It's funny how everyone tells everyone else, but no one really tells the person. I don't know. Maybe they do, but like, and it's so strange because this was happening last weekend. This person was a varsity player, but they were like landing under the net. I'm like, it's so weird. Like if they're in season, like their season just ended, but I don't know. They were younger, but
full foot over or half.
Well, it just depends. Like they were a right side and they were like really aggressive and sometimes like full foot under, right?
Wow, it's weird.
Yeah, but I don't know. And then anyways,
was he wearing ankle braces?
No.
So serious, right?
Yeah,
you feel safe, you fly in, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I think that like when you're I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something.
I kind of cut you off.
No, it's okay. No, you were saying something that I was gonna think of something, but I was gonna interrupt you. But no, I mean, I think the idea that protecting young players, maybe they can't protect themselves, so you want to make sure that you do that. And I think another reason too is liability. Right, I think there's probably clubs that worry that if someone damages their ankle, I mean, I'll tell everybody right now, there's no way you can get sued if someone rolls an ankle in volleyball. So, hopefully, that's not part of your concern. Like the parent's going to sue the club if someone rolls an ankle.
Yeah,
there are some people. There are some people who think like that though, but they can't. You can't sue for things where there's a reasonable an assumed element of risk, right?
Yeah.
In sports, so it's like, you can't sue for that stuff. So you can get that out of your heads if that's the reason why you're doing it. Should we get to the universal law here that I want to say that I think settles this too? Like we talked about the pro player example. If you want to look online, look on YouTube, look at photos of, great national team players or great national whole lineups. You'll see the whole team. There's one or two people wearing. Are there more things we should talk about with the coach?
Well, I'm starting to think of reasons as to why maybe people should wear ankle braces.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, do this.
Well, because part of the reason I think that you and I never wore them is because we grew up playing soccer. Right, and so, or football and other parts of
football.
Yeah, and that is very good for your ankles, like to strengthen because you're changing direction all the time and it's uneven surface. Like, so I know for a fact that, and then so playing soccer and hockey, it's weird. Hockey's actually really good for your ankles. It seems like it's stabilized in the skate, but it's kind of not.
Yeah, your ankles get tired when you're after.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but like they definitely get stronger.
Yeah. It's not braced the same way as these things are. Like hockey skates are rigid, but they're not like,
Yeah, they're not like, And then, and I mean, and everything else you do as a kid, right? Like track and field and like whatever. Mm-hmm. So like whenever I would get an ankle injury when I was young, it was typically one of those things where it would happen and it would hurt a lot and I'd be off for like a few minutes.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it would just kind of come back. You know what I mean? And then I could go back to playing. Mm-hmm. I've only had it once or twice where it was okay. I was out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I can only think soccer was a huge factor in that, right? And so what I was going to say is if you have players who are grew up playing volleyball, is that enough? Is that enough to really train the lateral? Because the thing is, in volleyball, you're on a perfectly flat surface, so you're not worried about any unevenness. So the ankle doesn't actually get to encounter any of that unpredictability, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, but what kind of kid is raised only on a perfectly flat surface?
So you're saying that because we don't have multi-sport athletes as much, or because they're specializing so early, that the ankle brace might be needed because they don't have those natural stabilizers built.
Yeah, I'm saying if that athlete is not experiencing and maybe didn't experience those other sports developing, then there might be a reason to. Yeah. And but even still, I would recommend the lace up one over the rigid thing.
Well, and this is what so I'm going to get into this because I think that people have this sort of all backwards. The idea. So here's the universal law. 'Cause I think it's a good time to bring it up after you said that.
Right.
Anything that is anything. Okay, forget about ankles, but anything that's supported from the outside will stop supporting itself from the inside. Okay, so that's like a universal law. So I can tell you an example. So like with my hold on, let me take a sip of my coffee because I'm going through puberty again. So
that's gonna be awkward.
it's like the third time. So so my kids, my daughters, they were into the lip balm, right? A lot of girls, there's a big trend, lip balm, chapstick, right? Eric, you used a lot of chapstick in university.
What?
Anyway, so so I used to tell them, I was like, okay, you're putting on chapstick like 6 times a day or like lip balm, I guess, right? Balm, B-A-L-M.
Balm.
Yeah, I think my chair is sinking, by the way. That's a bad sign. Time to get in the gym.
This topic is so good.
Yeah, I got anyway, so I got these chairs for a deal. But the idea is you're putting on this lip balm, and I used to tell them, like, that's actually making your lips get chapped more because your internal now is saying, okay, I'm getting my moisture from the outside, so I don't need to do it anymore, right?
Right.
Just like in your body, like if you're getting something that's supported externally. So let me use another example. So we talked about this in another episode where the parent who does too much for the kid, right? If a parent does everything for the kid, then the kid stops doing stuff for themselves, and then they can't support themselves literally because they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to whatever. Yeah. So this is like a universal law of nature. Whatever is supported from the outside, the internal sort of shuts down. And so a lot of trainers, a lot of physiotherapists will say this too, that if bracing is for injuries. So if you are playing, like you were talking about coming back, brace is a good idea.
Yeah.
But they are not made to wear every day. And the problem with playing with them every day in every practice and in every game is that every time you put that on, your stabilizer muscles in your ankle, which prevent roll, like the stuff that we had where our ankle rolls would come back and be fine, you're weakening them every time you wear the brace.
Yeah.
So your ankle is saying, oh, I don't need to support it. The little stabilizer muscles in there, I don't need to support the ankle. It's already being done. And so you're literally weakening them every time you step on the court and practice and play. I see some coaches who say just use them for games and not in practice. That's a little better way to go because I can see it's competition, but it still defeats the purpose. I would rather see coaches spend 10 minutes of practice on stabilizer exercises for kids.
Yeah.
And if you want one simple one that when I was coming back from my ankle, I was old. So I rolled my ankle when I was like 35, something like that, I think. And it was one of those things that you just said.
Super bad.
Well, it was super bad. So I just told my team, okay, this guy, be careful blocking this team because they're under the net all the time. And then the first point of the set, I'm in the air against the worst guy. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I came down and I rolled my ankle so bad. It was one of those ones where you walk off.
Bro,
it's okay, like, this will be okay. This will be okay the next day. Like you do everything right. And then the next day it's ballooned up. Right.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those, but I knew that, so what I did to help everybody said to me, because I was 35, oh, your ankle will never come back. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
They love to tell you how badly injured you are. So I did a lot of stabilizer muscle exercises and even like standing on one foot. So if coaches want to tell players, when you brush your teeth, stand on one foot when you brush your teeth every day and switch legs, that's a simple thing. And literally the brush.
Dude, then close your eyes.
Close your eyes and then bark. And bark like a dog.
No, don't.
Oh, you don't have to bark?
No. Not in tree pose, maybe in dog pose.
But yeah, the closing the eyes adds the instability, right?
Yeah, it makes it, you just, I don't know. Cause,
want to fall.
Yeah.
And then your ankle has to work even harder. That's the key. Yeah. That's the key. So it doesn't even have to be this big, long program. If you brush your teeth on one foot in the morning and at night, no, seriously, and you did one foot, like I suppose you did your left foot.
It's probably going to help a lot.
Right. It helped me. Like I did that. I did other stuff in the gym too, but that was a huge part because every day you do it, right? Twice a day.
Yeah.
Maybe once a day. I don't know what people's teeth are like.
And like you're saying, like if you're there, the braces for like once you're injured, like not because if you're wearing it when you're like all the time, anytime you're on the court, you're missing out on those little opportunities where your ankle, I don't know how, I just call it a tweak. Like it's one of those joints where I'm sure this has happened to most people who've played volleyball or any sport. Like you just kind of tweak your ankle and it hurts for a little bit, and then it just kind of comes back within a few, sometimes 30 seconds or something like that, right?
Yep.
And those are those little opportunities where like your body's now like learning how to stabilize itself, strengthening those ligaments.
And like you said too, about
tendons, I don't know.
Yeah, tendons,
Connective tissue, muscle, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to disagree with the.
No, I know. No,
but
it's good to do.
I can't think of anything. Like it absolutely makes sense. Like if you brace it, like it's just gonna, now you can use that to lean on instead of just having to support yourself. And then, who knows what else this is doing to the person later on in life. Cause it's like if you're using orthotics, right, to correct your, to correct your posture, say you have flat feet. I don't know. I've never had to use orthotics, but like imagine using them and it's to actually lift your arches. Well, having lifted arches, they create like a bit, if you put your feet together, they create a bit of a dome, and then that kind of gives you stability up from your feet into your knees and then into your hips and into your back, right? So if you have something that's lifting and creating that dome artificially, then you don't actually have that stability to then support proper knees. And so you might end up getting knee injuries or weird hip misalignments like later on in life. Right?
I know.
So it's just, it doesn't, I think this is why there's no debate for me. It's just that I know you think the same way. It's like, it's when you are injured, then you use it, then it has the purpose. And like, and I understand that there is the risk of, in club volleyball, like when kids are learning, they're landing under the net, but that to me is not the solution. The solution is to teach players not to land, to be aware of what's going on, and that it's very important that you don't land under. And if the set is too tight, to just like let it go, or you do something different where you get there and then jump straight vertical, and then blocking as well. Like you don't, major rant while you're switching your chair there.
No. I think you're right. Like it's just you're robbing kids of the ability to the bottom line is you're actually more likely to have an ankle injury. So the more you wear ankle braces,
think so too.
Like when you step off a curb in your life, then you're good. No, seriously, you're gonna, and later in life, like you said,
exactly.
All those years of stabilizers are not like we were talking about soccer as kids. Right? We weren't wearing ankle braces when we were playing soccer, and we weren't wearing ankle braces when we were playing hockey. And like so, it just and every sport we played everything. Right? We played baseball, we played tennis, we played football. So that's what the multi-sport athlete is gone. And we're further hampering these kids by making them wear ankle braces when really, honestly, part of our practice, you could literally do this, coaches. You could start your practice with 10 minutes of ankle stability stuff and tell your kids why you're doing it. And then they'll strengthen their ankles through volleyball and volleyball practice, not weaken them.
I agree.
Thanks for the token.
Do you see any tennis players wear them?
Only injured tennis players.
Yeah. And like, do you see any basketball players wear them? But now
the shoe gets
right, and I understand in basketball you're not necessarily doing as aggressive lateral movements, but in volleyball is a court sport, so it's going to be like tennis, it's going to be like squash.
I think basketball is more aggressive.
Yeah, well, you're right, actually, because way more.
Did you play a lot of basketball? I played a lot of basketball.
You're right. There's a lot of just sudden pivots and
craziness. Way more
direction changes. Yeah, you're right. So I don't know.
They just wear high tops in basketball, but that's a flexible ankle support. Yeah. Nobody's wearing the stiff ankle brace unless they got an injury.
Well, the reason why I'm asking about those other sports because I don't see anyone in pro tennis players. They don't unless they're injured. And basketball, same thing. And so therefore, is it coming down? Is it therefore supporting the use of the ankle brace due to the fear of landing on someone?
Well, why did you start? How old were you when you tried ankle braces?
Not till I was 18, 19.
Okay. And do you remember why you tried them?
Because I was told to.
Oh, you were told to. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I tried them around, when I was in high school, I think. Maybe a little later. But one of the reasons I tried them was because everybody was wearing them.
Oh.
It's part of the volleyball look.
I may have fallen for that.
Right?
Yeah. And then I tried it and I hated it and I said no.
Yes, same here. Yeah. Like I was like, man, everybody wears these. And I'm a real volleyball player.
Yeah,
I want to look like a volleyball player.
I want the knee-high socks and the active ankles.
Thing, and yeah. Later on I wore people thought I was wearing knee highs, but they were just calf sleeves because I was old. It was compression.
You don't see the knee highs anymore.
No, you don't. But I still need to wear my calf sleeves, so I'm going to look like I'm wearing knee highs. But they're just compression for my calves because they're so old. But anyway, compression is different than stabilizers, by the way. We should talk about that. Compression isn't stabilizing the joints.
Yeah.
Compression is just restricting blood flow to prevent swelling and that sort of stuff. And then when you take them off, it's kind of cool because a flood of blood rushes to the area.
Yeah,
It's kinda
I don't
cool.
know how I feel about compressions.
Oh, really? I think compression works.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just from the
What does it do? It just
Well,
increases
so
blood flow?
it prevents decreases blood flow. So like I felt the difference.
Decreases blood flow.
Yeah, while you're playing. So if if there's a soreness or it doesn't get a rush of blood and swelling and sort of stuff to the area, and then when you do take them off, there's that rush of blood in there which causes healing too, right?
Right. So
when you're done-
it doesn't decrease blood flow. It just reduces the amount of swelling that will happen because obviously your body's not going to change the amount of blood flowing to an area. It's just going to prevent swelling and edema.
It restricts a little bit of blood flow, I think, because if you think about it.
Yeah, but if it did, then your foot would start to go numb. If it was actually restricting flow, right?
A little flow.
So no, I think what you're trying to say is that it's when you're coming back from an ankle injury,
yes,
and you're starting to play, you actually get it taped up because you're going to start using it, and it's going to want to swell up because swelling is healing.
Yes, part of healing. Yep.
But then swelling also because your body's natural. Swelling prevents movement as well because it's the natural safety bubble. But if you're starting to then play again, you want to be able to maintain that range of motion. So you're going to tape it, keep it tight, which is just going to prevent the swelling. So then you can still have that range of motion.
But what's stopping the swelling?
It has a fixed volume.
Right.
It's not changing. Your foot can't swell up to then have a larger volume.
So the same amount of blood gets in?
Well, I would think so. Because if you're getting less blood, I mean...
Well, because it doesn't fall asleep because if you're playing or you're moving, there's going to be increased blood flow to those extremities.
For sure.
So by compressing it, I think it has to prevent a little bit, it doesn't allow the volume to come in. And that's one of the added benefits is when you take off the compression, I think then the blood rushes into, which also heals. So yeah, I think for me, science aside from it,
right.
For me, a compression, I feel like it helps, like in terms of I've had calf problems before as I got older. And I remember the calf sleeve really helped. I do wonder sometimes if I was wearing my compression sleeve, if I would have, because the Achilles probably was swelling inside and then it goes, versus if the compression's there, you just feel a little more I don't know, the muscles are tight in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, science aside, the key thing is that compression isn't restricting a joint. There's a difference, right?
Yeah, right.
You might have a compression, a tensor, as we used to call them, right? That's also the protecting coming back from injuries.
I think the calf sleeve is it's not over a joint.
No, it's
right?
over muscle.
So there's
exactly. Yeah, you might have an arm sleeve that covers an elbow joint, but that's still different. Still different. It's a different purpose. It's not there to prevent the movement from going side to side.
Yeah,
it's there to prevent the restrict blood flow or whatever it's doing.
We see,
but the key point, though, I don't want to lose the key point you made there, because you said the other sports don't use it.
Yeah,
and that's a huge key, because I think I want to get back to that idea that I think there's a look of volleyball players that we're all falling in for. Me and my friend, Meech.
Good point. When you're younger,
me and Meech, when we were trying the ankle braces, we were like, oh, now I'm going to look like a volleyball player. We were joking around about how we used to go to tournaments and we would be like, oh, that player looks like they're pretty good, and they're like, how do you know? And you're like, wearing ankle braces. It was a joke. So there's a little bit of that. I mean,
I forgot about that, but I used to think that when I was a teenager.
Yes, it's part of the cool thing, right? Yeah. And so I think it's a huge part of this, especially
taking me back, man.
We talked about young kids being insecure. Walking into a tournament, wanting to look like one of the cool kids. So the girls will roll their sleeves. They used to roll their sleeves up a lot.
Yeah, I remember all of this.
They used to sell those Velcro sleeves, or for girls, they would sell these Velcro sleeves that would hold your sleeves locked up because it was cool to roll those sleeves up, and the high socks and the so there's a look, right?
Yeah there is. I forgot about all this.
But the point is that if you are wearing these things, you're just making your ankles more at risk for injury, and the real solution is to work on ankle stability, right? Because that's the whole point, is like your muscles are, I don't want to say dying, but they are, like they're not getting worked. They're not getting the practice of stability and movement, and there's a bunch of, like, we are putting together some good ankle stuff for players, and hips and joints, knees, and how to get players really strong in those areas. There's an interesting thing. There's a problem with joints. Like, we're so obsessed as a culture with strengthening muscles that we're forgetting about the joint. And what happens to people who don't have strong joints and really strong muscles? You get knees blown out, you get hips blown out.
What you see a lot is those knee braces where it's not a knee pad at all. It's just I think most of them, like the really common, that blue one, German company. I think mostly what they do is just do like patellar. They put a little bit of pressure on the patellar tendon, and often that's what people need just to kind of.
I wore one of those.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but I think it just cues the body to then activate the opposite muscles or something. So it helps give them like feedback so that they're properly cueing their muscles up. I think something like that.
I had one for one side of the patella tendon. One side of the patella was pushing my kneecap back into, because the source of the problem was a stronger exterior than interior muscle, and I had to strengthen the interior muscle. Ruined it.
Well, just what you were saying. It's like, why is this knee pain happening, right? And it's likely because there's a misbalance, right? Mind you, I've seen, I'm sure you have as well, younger like players.
Oh, playing with full brace.
Well, like from a young age where they've already like their knees already seem to be like in a bad state. And I don't know how that happens. Like maybe there's genetics or something going on. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I just don't know, like maybe some people do need these knee braces, right? And they should probably use them.
We don't want to say don't wear a brace.
And I don't want to say, that training will absolutely cure all of your joint issues, but proper training will. Proper training.
In
my experience, it has.
No, we can just say it. Like, we're not like, so like we don't even say, I don't even like saying things like trust your doctor, because your doctor might be an idiot. Like, I'm sorry, I dealt with enough doctors in my life and my family's life.
If it's your family doctor, they don't know anything about sports. I mean, unless they are an athlete themselves.
Yes.
They may have an opinion outside of their profession.
Yes.
But as a trainer.
And I've seen sports doctors who know their stuff because that's what they do.
Yeah.
But I've been to regular, family doctors or even other doctors who have no clue about nutrition and exercise and sleep. Like, really, if you think about it, when you go in to see your doctor, the first discussion should be, okay, how are you sleeping? What do you eat?
That's a good one.
And what do you exercise? Because and a doctor should be trained. And if you think about how crazy this is, we walk into our doctor and they're like, okay. No offense to any doctors out there, but it's not your fault because you're educated in a box, right?
Right.
So you're like, okay, so here are the medications you need, versus, every doctor should be trained in, here's what you need to eat, here's what you need to do as a workout plan, and here's how many hours I need you to get for sleep. And watch the medication watch the medication prescriptions reduce. I said sales by accident there, I guess.
Whoops.
But no, it's because that's who writes the textbooks. That's who writes. We don't. I mean, this is sort of where we're going. Where like our system. The problem is we work on this whole idea of treating symptoms. Well, we're not a root cause society, right? So this is what I'm getting at here with the medical world. Our medical world looks at the surface, the symptom, and says, let's treat that without any acknowledgement for the cause underneath it. And that's sort of how this ankle brace thing works too, because we're protecting against the end result.
We love having these fears and just like letting them go on. Oh, the fear of always rolling your ankle. It's always going to be there. And then let's just figure out a way to coexist with it by, therefore, use these braces.
It's just what it is it's dealing with the end result, the horrific end result.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And just protecting against that, the end result, rather than protecting from the bottom up. Like, let's work on ankle stability. Let's work on joint movement. Let's work on all of that. That way we don't have to worry about that. It's still thinking about the catastrophic end. And it's almost like giving the medication for the symptom versus like looking at the sleep, looking at the workout.
Yeah.
It's a societal shift. It's a mindset, of a society.
And think of how the bounce back from an injury is like an amazing thing. It's a worthwhile experience in a way. So there's also that. And mind you, again, like their ankles, people who use ankle braces, their ankles are going to get weaker, and then eventually it'll lead to likely a bad injury. Hopefully not, but chances are the chances
will.
just keep going up,
In
right?
life,
But like,
it will, yeah.
yeah, but the having like going through an injury, even like, at a younger age or at an older age, it's always like it really sucks.
Why'd you point at me when you said an older age?
Well, I was pointing at the wall.
Oh,
As a
okay.
yeah.
Because it's old wood behind me.
No, just like as a
Old wood sounds
Yeah.
like a weird anyway nickname for one of my anyway. Sorry.
it just
So yeah,
injuries are good in a way.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to.
I know what you mean. We're so preventative.
They suck, but like you learn a lot from it, and then if
Yeah.
anything, you even get like some good, lasting, like permanent good habits
Yeah.
that come out of.
Depending on the severity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're not. But yeah, I know what you mean.
like your typical volleyball stuff, shoulder.
Yeah,
like I
not
haven't
like
had
a-
any knee stuff, thankfully. Maybe like hip, like whatever.
Mhm.
Well, we had that. We did the episode that no one listened to on
On
injuries, but
But we don't care. We don't care about the numbers.
yeah, no, I don't. It doesn't matter. But
Even though we quoted a series of numbers. No. Yes. No. The. Yeah, I know what you're saying. We spend, like, we've talked about this in a few different episodes, where we spend so much time avoiding bad things, and yet we all acknowledge that bad things are very good for us.
yeah,
And even in the
That's
long run,
the-
like if you look back, people listening, like if you look back on your life at some things, and I do too, like some horrific things that happened in your life that were not fair, or tragedy, like even sometimes the worst things, you often look back on them as like really interesting turning points that led to something amazing.
yeah,
So and injuries fall in that, because like there's mental toughness that comes from injury. There's learning that it's not as bad as you think it is. You go through the process of battling back. It's
I don't know.
it's therapy.
Yeah,
It's
like
therapy.
as awful as the worst ankle roll is, like as you can imagine it, it's bad. Maybe it'll put you out for half the season
Mhm.
or whatever. You'll miss the second half of the season. You won't make finals. Yeah, that possibility.
Mhm.
Again, I'm saying possibility is really terrible. But at the end of the day, like majority of ankle injuries aren't even that bad. I would think.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they're going to be.
Yeah, that you bounce back. Not
Yeah.
and rarely are they career ending.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I
so
don't know anybody who stopped playing after an ankle injury.
same.
I'm sure it exists, but
I'm sure it does, but like the
Probably not a
probability
good
has
rehab.
to be
Not a-
super small, like
yeah.
less than 0.01%.
Oh, and while we're at it, we should talk about how sprains are worse than breaks, right? People think that, oh my God, they broke their ankle, but that's kind of cool, because if you break, the bone does grow back stronger, but tendons and ligaments always come back weaker, and you have to do a lot. I came back, by the way, to finish that story, my ankle, like later in life when I rolled that ankle really bad, my ankle came back no problems at all. I just worked nonstop on stabilizer muscle stuff. Like, so other stabilizer stuff we did was like, aside from brushing the teeth on one ankle, I would like use a weight stack and tie the healthy ankle to a weight stack and pull away from the weight stack in all different directions and try to throw off the one on the ground that was the weak ankle, or do both ankles, even the healthy ankle too.
Yeah.
And I would be drenched in sweat doing that, because I was working these little muscles that were never working.
Yeah.
And then when you go back on the court, you just feel like, you good solid base there, right?
Same, like my terrible, brutal ankle injury. The more we talk about our injuries, the less people are going to listen because of the last episode, right? They don't
You
care
think so?
about it.
No, I think everybody's no. This is good.
Yeah,
these are about relevant to this one.
Same with you. It like I full recovery. There's like nothing. It was a brutal. You know what the exercise I did a lot was 1 foot on the balance board. What are they called? Those little round things?
I do that too, yeah.
And then the therapist just like threw a tennis ball at me.
Yes.
That was killer.
Are you sure that person worked there?
Yeah,
Maybe you were getting like bullied.
maybe. Probably not. And then then I did that, and then you try to stand on that thing and close your eyes. That was like near impossible. But yeah, so good. Like you said, you're drenched in sweat.
Yeah, it's crazy. Eh?
There's-
Simple little movement. That's what I
Like
my first brush with my knee problem with physiotherapist. That I love that physio gives you these neat little exercises, rooted in like Eastern medicine, right? And like and yoga and stuff, and it just like it's like, wow.
And we only do them when we're injured.
We
Why don't
only
we do them?
it's funny, right? Like I mind for my knee, like I was wearing a brace when I was playing a little bit, just because I was protecting it. It was my patella was off center kneecap, and so I needed to strengthen the interior muscle to bring it back to center. And I remember I just turning my foot out, and I'm sure physios listening and players might know this too. You just turn your foot out and raise your leg with a straight leg with your foot just turned out slightly, and you're like, okay, I can do this all day. And then you go do 10, you're like, oh my God.
It's brutal.
Exhausted. And they're like, yeah, see, it's because that's that muscle that's pulling the exterior is pulling the kneecap out of joint. So it's these little stabilizer muscles that we are robbing our players of strengthening every time they're on the court. And actually, I have a great story because I forgot about this, but this season, so there's a player on my daughter's team, a high school team. They have a really, really cool, good, strong high school team. And she's playing for like a legendary beach player, right? He coaches club and he's a director near us. And he is telling his players to wear them every practice and every game. And I was like, really? That's so interesting. I don't know if it's because, I mean, he started as an indoor player for sure, but I think his thing is that he's telling them to wear them. Yes, it's this is like a Olympian, right? And I'm like, wow, I'm really surprised at that because I wouldn't have guessed him. I think in his case, he has a very strong team playing at like a 17-year-old age group, and I think that he thinks they can go far, so maybe he's a little paranoid of it. But I'm surprised. I mean, in fairness, this guy had like a devastating shoulder injury that ended his career, and he just kept playing with it, and he couldn't play anymore. And people had to like sort of say, I don't think I can play with you anymore, because he was losing his shoulder strength. So maybe he's not the best example for physio and rehab. But here's the story. So that player on one of their school games in a routine play, I don't think she even stepped on anybody. Rolled her ankle really bad and went back to the bench. No, sorry, she was playing high school. She wasn't wearing the brace because she didn't like wearing the braces.
Right.
But her ankle was susceptible because she had been practicing all season, games and practices with the brace. And then she comes into a game, a nothing play. We even had it on video, and I couldn't see. There was nobody stepped on her. She just landed.
Yeah.
And her ankle rolled, and she went to the bench crying. And I was like, I didn't really register that at the time, but for that team to be wearing braces all the time, that's what you're setting your players up for. They're gonna have trouble landing properly.
I've seen like even the injury happen while wearing the brace.
Yes,
that as well. Like,
I've seen it too.
It doesn't bulletproof you from that. You can still roll it. I mean, just like you can roll your ankle, or you can roll your ankle in a ski boot, same thing. You can get really bad ones, actually, really bad joint injuries skiing or snowboarding because you're like locked in.
And there's so much tension on fall there.
It can be really nasty. But that's a bit shocking.
I know it's anecdotal and it's one story, but it is telling that this player who's played volleyball her whole life up until she's 17, I think.
But how
16
much?
Maybe.
Yeah. How worse in severity would the injury have been had she had the ankle experience more? Having to support itself, or how the injury would have been shorter, not as bad. There's no need.
She came back pretty fast, but that's also youth helps that. But I don't think the injury would have happened. I don't think on the play that you saw, there's no collision.
I remember this. You were showing me.
It's just like a limp to the bench.
A jump or anything.
Yeah, it was just odd. So I think that. So we don't, we understand that there's an ankle, but I think one point you said, sorry, you want to say something?
Well, I wanted to say, you were talking about back to the breaks versus strains or whatever, but I mean, you and I have proof that they can recover just as strong, right? So
what I mean is the bone will grow back automatically stronger. Just nature does that, right?
Oh, I see.
There can be calcium deposits and problems with that too, but the tendons and ligaments you got to work at if you're going to start. A lot of people just go,
I agree with.
They'll say things like, oh, thank God it's just a sprain. And I'm like, oh, that's way worse. Worse.
And it was easier having an athletic therapist, and because you just show up 4 days a week and do all this stuff, and it recovers amazing, right? But I agree. If you have to put the work in yourself, if you don't have access to stuff like that.
Well, even my situation with my leg numbness that I was having recently when I was jumping, and it was like I found it was nerve entrapment in my leg. And so I went to this. I don't go to. I like chiropractors sometimes. Some yes, some no. But this chiropractor was one who she said to me, her goal is for me not to come back, which is cool, right? Because that's what she goes, I know that you'll put in the work. So she showed me some good exercises. And then I did put in the work and it helped. And it's just a matter. It's the same thing. If I did things that were, external, if I taped it up or if I wore something to protect it, then it's not going to heal on its own. I have to have to make it, put in the hard work.
Yeah.
And then and strengthen everything around. I think now we have a fundamental understanding of this. So when we meet people who don't understand this, I'm still a little shocked that they exist, but they actually are the majority, the people who don't understand how this interior versus exterior thing works. I don't is there any other, we can think of a ton of other examples to prove that theory, I think, right? How universal it is. Like, anything that's braced artificially or,
even, I don't know, like a math test or something, like doing it with a calculator versus and then, but say the calculator's removed, now you have to do the test. It's
and you're not able to function.
Yeah. So
institutionalization, prisons. Right, and institutions where people are
which
totally
would represent
dependent.
structure.
If anybody watched Shawshank Redemption and Brooks, the character Brooks was good at showing that you're institutionalized, mental institutions, even hospitals, senior homes, and jails where people are like there too long, they lose the ability to take care of themselves because there's too much support happening. And it leads to parenting too, right? Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
If schools or parents are too easy on the kids or too accommodating, then the kid loses the ability to handle different things in adversity, right? And kids freak out over every little thing because they are used to having everything done for them. So.
And I'm sure there's examples, like direct examples when it comes to like training and stuff. Like even like Olympic powerlifters, they wear that like lumbar harness when they're doing their competitive lifts, right? The stuff that's really heavy. But I'm sure during their training, they have that thing off and they're letting themselves, do stuff like the Jefferson curl, right? Which is that really aggressive spine fully curving. And then they're like stacking one vertebrae up at a time, right? Going through like full range of motion. And you wouldn't be able to do that with that lumbar brace on, right?
And they work themselves up to the challenge, right? With increments, they don't go straight to heavy.
Right.
Yeah.
And Olympic powerlifters are training full range of like spinal flexion. They are so flexible. These people.
They are. They always have been. Yeah.
Yeah. But when they do their lift, obviously their hips have to be, but you don't realize how much of their range of motion that they're actually utilizing to do. Yeah. But that's what makes them so good at it.
Yeah. Go look at like the snatch, like look at where their knees are.
Yeah.
In a deep squat, right? Like it's crazy the flexibility they have because they use the weight to help them get into those positions. Yeah. They work their way up. Well, that's an interesting thing to do in this ankle brace thing. Like, so there are ways to strengthen your ankle joint, right? Like there are ways to support your ankle. One of the best ways is like for stabilizers, we talked about the one-legged stuff, but another one is, don't forget, like calf raises way past the ground, so you're protecting the back of your ankles too, right? So like doing calf raises and going past the ground, so up on a bar, elevate yourself, going high up, slow on the way down, hanging around at the bottom. So
let it stretch. So
you're really stretching the calf, because a lot of the times that we have ankle
hold
problems,
it at the top as well. Yeah,
and explode up to the top and hold, and then because a lot of times the problems we have with our ankles or joints is that we haven't strengthened them. And we haven't lengthened them, and we haven't
at that full end of the range of motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then on the other side, there's the tibia stuff, right, where you can pull up with your toes. Not many people do this, where there's ways that you can pull, like you can use a band, hook onto something. They call it
a reverse calf raise as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you think of a reverse calf raise and you're pulling with your toes and the top of your foot, like a band or something back, you can even do some knee bends with your, making sure like reaching your knees forward and touching your knees to something that way. And your feet stay flat. So you'll really feel that. Like I do that for my Achilles right now.
The Patrick step is one of them. It's like you're on one leg and you really like let your knee go as far forward as possible. You're keeping your other one off the ground and your upper body kind of like leans back and your knee goes as far forward as possible. Right. It's really good. And then that other one you're talking about where you're on both, you're like just standing, raise both your heels, and then you're going to let your knees go as forward and maybe even touch the ground and then kind of come back up. But, this is all kind of starting to make me think that maybe the ankle brace is okay, but if you're going to use it, you better be exercising the ankles. Because, if the big thing is fear of injury, then, well, that's so simple now. If it's fear of injury, then train the ankles. And then when you're playing in the game mode or you're in semis at whatever, then wear the wear
brace.
the sleeve on your ankle.
Well, that's the only thing I can see.
So now you're actually taking care of the ankle. If it really does come down to fear being rolled,
Yeah.
if it comes down to fear being rolled, the ankle brace isn't the solution.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's only. I mean, it can be used, but only if you're actually training the ankles.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense. When coaches might say in games we wear braces, but the problem is they say it like in practices where we wear braces.
No, for sure. If it's ubiquitous, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
because you're taking away the opportunity.
But even in the game, like if you think about it, right? Picture like it depends on where you are in life, right?
I know.
Like, so you're a 15-year-old kid who every game you play for the rest of your life, you're wearing an ankle brace. You're losing those stabilizers.
Yeah.
So it does add up either way. And like, you know, you sort of said it is a Band-Aid. It's our society likes hold on. Our society likes the Band-Aid. Like I talked about with the healthcare industry. We like the Band-Aid. We don't like the cause. We don't do the hard work. Give me the pill that'll fix what I have. I'm not going to do the workouts. Right, that's what we are, and the ankle brace is the pill.
It's like the placebo as well.
It's the Band-Aid. It literally is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You wear it on the outside, then you'll be safe. Because I don't want to spend the work.
It gives people more confidence as well. They feel like they're wearing the thing. They're wearing the Band-Aid. Like they feel safer or whatever.
Yeah, but it's nothing compared to the confidence gained from doing the hard work and prep.
and also in game time, that's when you're going aggressive, and that's when your ankle is going to experience those really extreme range of motion and then high stress.
I wouldn't say
situation.
you feel safer. I think you have a false sense of security.
Well, right.
Which it's fake.
Feeling safer.
Yeah,
It's
like
security.
Yeah, it's like
that's what I meant.
Yeah, not really. You know what really makes you feel safe is doing all those other things.
Yes,
because then you feel bulletproof. Then you feel like mentally and physically you are able to do anything.
Now, what happens if you're doing all that ankle training and then you still have a really bad ankle injury?
You'll heal faster.
I would think so.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, it's like me going...
I think so. You definitely
go into an injury. Like, luckily, so when my Achilles thing, just to use as an example, I was working out pretty well, fell off for a couple months because life got busy, got injured. I was like, crap, I should have kept working out. But still, because I was going into it fairly in decent, played a full season of beach and trained and stuff, I bounced back pretty fast for a guy my age, right? Because I'm in better shape than the average, as bad as they look.
But but think about that, like because it's funny, certain things can happen to people at certain times, and it just changes the way that they think completely. Like it could happen to someone where they're training their ankles, and then they do have an injury, and it's just the way that they interpret what has happened. They may end up then being an ankle brace person for the rest of their life. Like the coach you were mentioning, the Olympian, he's now getting, it's just the different ways that people interpret these certain things that happen to them. It becomes a forever new set perspective for like the rest of their life, right?
Or maybe he had stock in an ankle.
I doubt it. I don't know who invests in active ankle.
hey, a pro volleyball player, right?
Yeah, a pro volleyball who doesn't wear it.
Who else would you get?
But
on the beach, beach player who wears ankle braces.
That would be, oh my god!
Imagine wearing ankle braces on the beach. That'd be funny. We don't do it. But yeah. What? Sorry.
Well, it's just my point is like how certain things, the way people interpret them, they can really change.
I think the ankle brace is a real good metaphor though for our world,
and
how we raise our kids. How we raise our kids. It's like sending them out for a walk in a helmet. It's like, or not even. It's like I said, it's that symptoms based culture, like that we sort of address things superficially rather than the interior. We like to change things on the outside, not the inside. It's very symbolic of our culture right now. I think that we are all, so interested in how the exterior looks, and we're so interested in treating the things on the exterior. Like, we don't look deeply into things. And if you think about what we're talking about, there's nothing here that we're talking about that is earth shattering. We are talking about working on the small things every day that require real hard work versus slapping on a brace that you just buy in a store and going out there. It's symbolic of our culture.
Do you want to hear a story?
Sure do.
Because okay, so I like what you said there, and made me think of this story.
Thank you, Eric.
That I didn't.
I could tell you were thinking about what I said, and it triggered something in you.
Yeah, I never really thought about this, but like, so I grew up like snowboarding and playing soccer, hockey, all this other stuff. Like I understood how to, mostly from snowboarding, and like I used to skateboard and rollerblade and do all this stuff. And actually many times off a bicycle, I learned to tuck and roll. Because sometimes I remember I had a really bad crack because I was a young boy. I was doing stupid stuff, like really crazy stuff. And then sure enough, bad things happen. And you learn to tuck and roll. And this actually,
this is when you're flying off the bike.
Yeah.
You would learn to tuck and somersault. So then.
Yeah. Or on rollerblades or off my skateboard or whatever. Right.
Yeah, how to fall safely, cushion the landing.
Which is, and my body just learned this naturally because the whole point is to protect the head and the front of the body. Right. So, and it's just something I would regularly do all the way up until the age of like 18 or whatever.
Like no matter what you're doing, like just in
life? Just like I was always doing goofy stuff, right? Like always.
Yeah.
And it actually ended up saving my life because I was in a car accident on the summer when I was 18 after my first year at university. Came home, met up with a friend, and like I think we had fake IDs, so
What?
Yeah,
Eric.
We met up and we hadn't seen each other in so long, so we wanted to go out, and then we go out to the bar, and then we arranged he was going to drive home. And anyways, stupidly enough, my friend was drinking, and I was his passenger, and I was really inebriated, right?
So your friend was drinking and driving.
Yes, and then
that's a good lesson for kids.
It's very, very bad.
Yes,
very, very bad.
But there's a car accident, right?
And there was a car accident, and my window happened to be down. And my seatbelt was off. And then it's funny.
The story's getting worse and worse.
It was bad. And I only remember this because a weird thing happens. And we ended up getting in a crash. But the only reason why I remember is because adrenaline.
It was your friend's fault?
Adrenaline kicked in. It was another drunk driver.
Oh,
but
my God.
Obviously, both were at fault.
Where was this?
It was really bad. So anyways, my window was down, seatbelt was off, and I only remember this because of the adrenaline that kicked in thereafter that kind of let me remember. So we were both going to make a left, and then the other driver decided to go straight. So our vehicle was turned a little bit, and I was the passenger. So then we collided, and then I got thrown out of the vehicle out of my passenger side window.
You fit out the window perfectly?
Yeah. Well, because the car was on an angle.
Wow.
I mean, I don't.
You're lucky
not perfectly.
You didn't hit the edge.
Well, I likely did. My hip. So this is it. A collision happened. We were driving. Maybe not like it wasn't over 50. It was probably like 40 kilometers an hour. But head-on collision. I go flying out the window, and then this is the crazy thing that the human body does. Like once this thing happened, I got so much adrenaline in me, but I was also like drunk in a way. But I landed and I just like tucked and rolled out of being a missile out of a vehicle. And then I was totally fine. The only thing that happened to me is that my right hip took the scuff because I'm right side dominant, or that I tucked and rolled that way. But other than that, like I was completely unharmed, which is the crazy thing because I don't know why. Maybe you could say it's because I was drunk that I relaxed so much.
That's the theory. They say some drunk people survive.
But also, I didn't just passively fly out and just pancake. I legit rolled, and you could see it was very obvious. I don't think I thought about it. I think it was just a natural reaction
because you'd been doing it so many times.
Yeah, it's just like this is just another like snowboarding accident or another skateboard accident.
So the lesson for the young kids out there is that
many lessons here.
Yeah, there's many. So the lesson is that if you do a lot of tucking and rolling, you can drink and drive as much as you want. Is that what you're saying, Eric?
Absolutely not.
Is that your PSA?
No, definitely just, I hope that never happens to anyone.
But you were, so what we were tying that in with, what did I say that triggered that? You were talking about, I was talking about something that you said.
Well, you were talking about the whole, like this is such a symbol of, I mean, I was thinking about it before, but you're talking about how, we're making things too safe. Like,
oh yes,
kids walking around with helmets on. And
so you're dangerous. The fact that you were doing these not risky but harder things.
It made me think of, because even from as a kid, the first thing you do while you're crawling, first you learn to crawl, then you learn to fall over while crawling, then you learn to walk, and then you learn to fall while walking. So like I had experienced falling so many times, and falling turned into rolling, and then rolling, having experienced it so many times, may have literally saved my life in this one situation.
Interesting. So all those bad things led to something good.
Yeah, all those unsafe or whatever. It's just learning to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go through some things to. Yeah, I think it's all connected, and I think we rob ourselves of. We all want to avoid the lessons. Like, we all say we learn through failure and mistakes, and
there's certain ones you want to protect from, like helmet,
of course, yes,
right? Like your head, like that's the stuff that can really alter your life.
Yeah, and there's no like training that to be better as far as we know yet. I mean, one day they might come up with something, right? That. I think squinting will protect me from head injuries. I squint. I feel like my eyes are connected to my brain. So if I
squint, my brain will be protected.
Well, when I squint my eyes, I can feel the back of my brain. Like
sometimes the things you say hurt my head so much.
Yes, so I'm quite profound that way.
Yeah.
No, but I think that there's tons of examples where people can think of, yes, okay, so if I do support from the outside, well, you know what, my other thing was like skin cream, not to get too personal here, but I have eczema. No, I'm just kidding. No, but if you have, I used to always be opposed to skin cream. And I remember thinking, no, because the minute I put that stuff on me, the skin cream companies know that they're going to make something in there that my body's going to become dependent on it. And then so I did start using skin cream. And sure enough, now I have to use skin cream every damn day.
Well, you're talking about your daughter's using lip balm. Did it actually turn out that their lips kept getting dry?
Well, yeah. Like I think everybody listening has had this experience, don't you think? Where you're like getting a mode where you're like putting on some lip or skin cream or whatever it is, and then you're like, hey, I need this all the time now. Or like, you lick your lips too much, and what is that doing? You lick your lips too much, and then your lips get chapped because they're like, oh, exterior.
But maybe if you're putting on lip balm,
is it called lip fluid? Exterior lip fluid.
I don't know.
I don't need interior lip fluid.
I understand what you're saying, and I can't, and I do agree. It does make sense. I think there are some body metabolic functions where, if you're adding this, your body will stop. Like this is the case with they know it with steroids. Right. By taking steroids, you shut down your own testosterone or androgen, whatever production.
And what happens, Eric?
Well, then once you stop getting it exogenously, then you crash.
Yes, and what happens, Eric?
Well,
what's the symptom? How do we know that old guys have been using steroids? Smaller testicles.
Well, I was gonna say small, but how do you know? But it's like a number of things.
That's what I mean.
Don't they they get breasts and
anything that's related to testosterone, so that you might get breasts because now you've shut down your testosterone, you have a little more estrogen rising in you, and then you have less testosterone, so your testicles shrink, and then that's
I mean, do you know firsthand?
Oh God! No, I don't do steroids. I've never done steroids. I look like I've.
How do you know guys' balls shrink?
Because I read medical journals.
Oh, medical journals.
No, but it's just we know this because
we do know this.
When I was in high school, I remember our school we did a great. So I don't know if anybody remembers the sprinter Ben Johnson. I'm sure Canadians do, but Americans might. He was the guy who was beating Carl Lewis. 84 Olympics, he won the bronze. Actually, people forget that. And then Carl Lewis won. Ben Johnson won the gold in the 1988 Seoul Olympics and famously tested positive for steroids. So our high school, I remember we had there's this guy in our school, right? He's a black kid and he's facing the other way. And there's another guy on stage announcing Ben Johnson, the world's fastest man. And they're playing this cool music, right? And then they kept going, Ben Johnson, the world record holder, the Olympic gold medalist, Ben Johnson. And then the guy
Is this a drama?
This was like the Christmas skit or something, the whole Christmas play. And then they go, Ben Johnson did not take steroids. And he turned around and he had these two pantyhose things stuffed with tons of pop. So it looked like his testicles were massive. And so they're trying to say the bulk of testosterone, but the truth is we know now that the more you put in of testosterone, the less the body produces testosterone. And so it's universal. It's a universal law that the more you put in, the less that is naturally generated. The system's shut down because it's just basic. You realize I realize if you're helping me, let's suppose all the time, let's suppose you're doing all the lifting. Let's suppose we're moving a bookcase and I'm like, well, and Eric's doing all the lifting. Pretty soon I'm going to stop lifting because I'm like, oh, this dummy's doing all the work. And that's what your body does too. It's a universal law.
Like even with the most researched sport supplement, creatine, even then it's still recommended stop taking it after, I think they say 3 months, 12 weeks. Because even with that, and the reason I bring that one up, because that one seems to be the most, even though you take external creatine, it really, your body will still make its own very well.
Right.
But even to that extent, still stop and cycle off it. Even we're supposed to do this like with like caffeine. I don't know if you've ever done that before. But have you ever like stopped drinking caffeinated beverages for like 2 weeks?
Never.
Dude, and then you go do it, or actually, if you're hardcore, do it for like 2 months and then have a coffee.
And you'll see how much of a drug it is.
I haven't done 2 months. I've done 2 weeks, and it's pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
I know. No, I know. It's like not our natural state.
Luckily,
I've always been generally 1 cup of coffee a day. So I've never, if I have a second one, I don't need it, and I don't, but it makes a crash in you. Like, well, that's a great one too, right? Like the example of like, so you're putting energy into your body so you stay awake, and then you crash. That's because your body's like, oh, where's that thing that you gave me before, right? And I had another one too about drug resistance, right? So like you take any drug, whether it's a good drug, a bad drug, whatever you want to call a good drug, and then you have to up the dosage over time because your body builds immunity, and it's like, oh, this isn't working, I need more. So same, like just to bring it back to the ankle braces again, like if you're constantly supporting from the outside, your ankle is now saying, I mean, it's not thinking, but it's like, these muscles don't need to work. They're going to fall asleep. Because it doesn't need any support. Like another example is people who suffer like, injuries to do with quadriplegic, and, the muscles wither away because they're not being used. And that's the danger of someone who has that inability to
if you've ever
use
had
those
a cast
muscles.
on.
Yes. Well, that's why I took off my cast for my Achilles injury, because I looked at it and I was like, how can restricting blood flow and movement help my Achilles heal? Because I looked at it after a couple of days of being in an air cast. It was swollen up like crazy. It looked like a dead person's leg. So I was like, I'm going to take this off.
It was swollen?
It was
so it
might have been swollen from the injury a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But, you know what I mean? It was fresh. It was a couple days
that was
after.
only a few days. Right,
yeah.
right.
So, but it looked like it was like just discolored.
Yeah.
You could tell there was not enough blood getting in there. There was no circulation in there. So I started. Yeah, this is a great example. I started walking when I shouldn't have been walking. I put a heel wedge in to make sure that the Achilles could attach well.
Well, that's another thing that sketched me out, like the heel wedge.
Yes. Well, just in this case, because that made good sense to me, because that means that.
Oh, so it reattached.
Yeah, because if I didn't, then it would be permanently elongated. So I put in a heel wedge, guessing, and then, but it's fine, and it let me walk more quickly. Let me use all those little muscles surrounding the Achilles. Otherwise, they all would have atrophied. And like I said, the blood flow getting to the area has to be good.
See, especially with these injuries, get back on it like as soon as possible. Let the initial, again, and depending on the severity, like you have to do whatever, but like it's different when you have a break. Yeah, that's different. You need to splint it or cast it.
Yes, support there, right. Yeah. Some people say nature's cast is the swelling. I mean, it depends on how far you want to go into this whole idea. Because then you're, in my case, I felt like I needed to get out of the cast because I was thinking that, okay, so the longer this is here, the more the muscles are going to atrophy. And then 90% of my rehab is going to be fixing the muscles from the cast, not the actual injury, which I think a lot of people fall into that habit too.
It's crazy. Thinking of a broken bone, like obviously a physician will set the bone properly.
If it's a break that needs a set,
if it's a break that needs a set. But like just think about this for a second. Obviously the physician doesn't, it's not like they set it exactly where it needs to be. They just set it so it's right. Yeah. But your body figures out the rest. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that's the crazy thing. Your body knows how to like perfectly realign this thing.
Well, see,
isn't that wild?
It is wild, but
like this.
I know. That's what I'm going to say. Well, here's the thing. So people forget that, and I don't want to get too much like, a lot of people think that science and religion aren't connected. I was when I taught philosophy and psychology, I used to tell people they're not, you don't have to have them at odds. Okay. So if you believe in God, great. If you don't believe in God, the whole idea that evolution and science, I don't know why somebody like the idea that, okay, if you believe God's doing evolution, great. If you don't believe God's doing evolution, great. But see, we are the product of the bodies that for millions of years were doing that, like, able to fix itself. Yeah. So those were the people that survived. Yeah. Right. So it makes total sense that our bodies know what to do. It's not that they're some amazing smart thing. It's that all the people that didn't have those skills died out. Right. Yeah, I was telling us
those genes would have died out.
Yeah, they would have died out because they would have had bad healing, and they would have been injured, and they would have been eaten by other humans. No, I'm just kidding. They would have been eaten by other wild animals. I think that's how it works, right? I mean, we've all been tempted to eat a. Am I alone here? Me neither. Anyway. That movie Alive.
You're making a good point, and
Yes,
then you just
I
had to
just
ruin
I
it.
hijacked
Yeah.
it. Sorry.
It was your own point.
Yes, it was my point. Yeah. Anyway, so the idea is that we what was I saying?
Just like we're the product of evolution.
Oh, yes.
Evolution is such an interesting concept because it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like this, and it's not just in humans.
We kind of have it backwards, though, right? Sorry, that's what I was getting at. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
okay. Trying to bring you back to it.
Yes, thank you. We have it backwards. We think that isn't it amazing that our bodies can do this? But no, it's of course we can, because we're the descendants of the people that can.
Yeah.
Do it. That's why we're here, because we can survive. That's why we did a lot of talk about the immune system over the last few years, and how virus, like, it's a weird thing. Our nature, our relationship with injuries and viruses. Like, we seem to think that they're like virus doesn't help humanity. That's a weird thing. Like, we are only here because of past virus.
Well, right. And like we've clearly, the body has figured out how to live with them, right? It has a whole defense system set up for when it does encounter them. Like,
yes,
it's always like humans are kind of neat. Like looking back on, we're a big dog family, and I think we've had dogs get sick like maybe once or twice, but like generally, like our lab right now, like I don't think I've ever seen her get sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously the human is a much more complex like creature, so that's probably why. But we have these interesting, like,
we like to think so,
seasonal colds and stuff.
We like to think we're more complex than animals.
Yeah,
intellectually, in theory, we are, I guess. But what's your definition of intelligence? Like,
yeah,
working for 80 years and then spending it all on a funeral. But anyway, we're getting too deep. I
don't know the point I was trying to make.
I think the point you're making is that evolution, that we, a lot of things in evolution, just sort of like viruses, they are helpful to us. Like, people forget that without virus, like, just again, as a history major, and without virus, we would have been toast a long time ago, because anything that we encountered would have killed us. So virus is our friend, and the more viruses are, by definition, they're there to strengthen the species.
I wouldn't say they're friend. It's just we evolved alongside these things.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Our immune system virus,
and there's got to be there's a reason why they exist and why human beings, or not a reason, but
no,
in terms of like an eco feedback,
they're
being part of the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, we're both here for mutually beneficial reasons. People forget that. Yeah, if they don't study evolution at all, then they don't. And again, part of the reason people don't understand or study evolution is because they've been taught that it's against religion, and it's not.
Well, a lot of religious people study evolution as well, right?
Yes, but what I mean is the mainstream have been taught that, if the science department's teaching about evolution, then they're being anti-God, and even the scientists themselves have decided that this is like an anti-God idea, and it's again. So I don't want to get too political, but we already have. But the idea is that these things like injuries, if we don't test the immune system is such a good example, because it's the point of, like, if I don't get sick, if I have too many things protecting me from getting sick, then I will get sicker. Like, so a person who stays inside for their whole lives to avoid disease is the person who's going to get the sickest when they encounter virus. Yeah. It's the same, like the ankle that is constantly protected, like that person indoors, they will get injured as soon as they get out, because they have weakened everything.
And this was even used by the scientific community in earlier vaccines, or vaccines as we knew them pre-2020.
You're not allowed to say, Eric, what are you doing? You're not allowed to say that on the
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm just kidding. No,
but that's the concept that was used. It's like, hey, let's make sure we expose the body to a little bit of this, and because that it'll make it stronger.
Yes.
So
and that's why the controversy, right? Like, in the past few years, no matter how you felt about what was happening, there was the controversy, because old school vaccines were a little bit of the virus to trigger a response, a little bit of suffering or pain for your body to trigger a response. And then the whole kerfuffle started, because people were like, okay, this is a little different. And some people were worried about that. Some people were trusting of it. And some people, we won't get into that. But that was what...
this episode's now flagged because I said the...
I know. Way to go, Eric.
Yeah.
Now, like, the 20 people who listen won't be able to find us. No. So I think
I like how you modified that joke there.
Yeah,
from 1 to 20.
Yeah, it's we're getting. We can't deny it now. We're on a roll here. Pretty soon we're going to be in the 30s. No, but I think we made a good point for the idea that supporting, the more you feel like you're protecting, or you feel like you're helping, just like the parent who does too much, or the coach who does everything for their player, but really you're not allowing them to do it on their own, or allowing the joint to do it on its own, which is always better long term. It seems like the right decision right now to protect against this thing, but we're actually hurting them in the long run. I use this example with my wife all the time, where she'll do so much for the kids, and I said, you feel like you're helping them, and this is I think a lot of households have this debate. You feel like you're helping them, but you're actually really ruining their lives.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, let them make their own burrito. Okay? That's how I say it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we made a good point.
Yeah,
I think
so
that sums it up.
I mean, I don't know. You can I was just about to kind of make an attempt at summing it up.
Go ahead.
No, you can choose to listen to two guys who
been through it all.
Well, no, we have our experience and we're sharing it with you, but you can also like we said, take a look at a lot of these pro teams.
Go back, yes. Go back to that early point.
No one's wearing them. If you really want to do some further research, look into knees over toes guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great lesson there. He's just got a really cool story, and that goes beyond ankles.
His knee problems.
That's it. You don't have to listen. I think the whole point of you don't see any pros wear these things. It's just
Well, I think so. One thing that we offer, Eric's always so nice, but we are giving universal laws here. So we're giving examples from nature which override even the photos of the pros. We were saying, if you don't believe anything we say,
good point.
Go look at the photos of the pros.
That's just an example as to why the law exists.
Yeah, but for us, when we I think what's unique about our show, and I think why some people like it, is because we do bring it to a bigger issue where it's sort of undeniable. And the idea, we talked about, where if a player doesn't get to serve a lot and you just keep subbing them out, you're delaying that player's process of growth. Okay, so it's kind of like the ankle brace, right? You're bracing the ankle, and you are delaying or weakening actually that ankle. Yeah. Every time you put on that brace, you're weakening the ankle. Bottom line, the muscles are not working. It's a fact. So that's what I mean.
They're still working.
You know what I'm saying, though? The stabilizer muscles, those braces are replacing the stabilizer muscles, which I'll submit to you, they aren't working. The stabilizer muscles are not working.
Well, it'd be pretty hard to shut them down completely. You'd need
all right. Jeez, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's suppose you wear them for 20 years and step off a curb and roll your ankle, and one person didn't wear them, one person did wear them. It's like doing sit-ups. One person's been doing sit-ups and the other person's been eating Doritos.
It's pretty tough to shut down the ankle completely.
Oh, okay. Thanks, doctor.
I
didn't mean the active ankle is shutting down the ankle completely, but it's shutting off a lot of stabilizer muscles in there.
Yes.
It's not allowing the ankle to practice, those you love the term feedback loop, Eric, right? That won him over. Just got to say feedback loop.
Great.
Today's show again has been brought to you by Active. Actually, it hasn't been brought to you by Active Ankles.
This show won't air because we're going to get
pulling their
sued now.
sponsors show. No, Active Ankles. There's a time for them, but you mentioned it. They were created as injury supplementation support. All of these braces were injury braces. Were invented to be.
Wait, let's just think of Active Ankles maybe so they make it to be an injury recovery tool.
It was.
Then all of a sudden it starts selling like crazy. As the the CEO of Active Ankle, what are you gonna do? Be like, wait, should we tell people or should we? Oh wait, no, you need this thing. Yeah.
I don't even know if they sell. I don't even know if they market them. I mean, I guess so. They could say that it's
like Tesla. They just sell themselves.
Until Twitter. But no, you can say it prevents ankle rolls, right? And it prevents injury. But what really it was intended was for that person who's coming back from an injury and isn't quite rehabbed there yet.
It won't say it'll also weaken the ankle.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that would be good for business.
No, I don't. Of course not.
New active ankle braces that they'll weaken your ankles.
Yeah,
but they do. So we solved it. But I know coaches out there like I said, there are teams, and this is the problem, where the coach will mandate it for every player. It's a rule on the club. Can you imagine? You're not allowed to play, and it's usually because the coach, in fairness, saw a bad injury, has a lot of empathy, is worried about their players. We want to make it very clear.
Right.
We're not saying that coach is a jerk, but they're just a little bit uninformed about maybe if
they're
they do care that much, then maybe spend a little time on ankle work.
Yes.
And you can find this on the internet.
Yes.
Good stuff, right?
If they're so worried, why aren't they?
Yeah. Because we like the Band-Aid.
Use both.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. We like shortcuts in our culture.
Well, yeah.
But shortcuts are bad. Look what happened to Little Red Riding Hood. Shortcut. Right?
Hey, have you ever heard the story
Stay on the
of
path.
the
Yes.
wolf?
Yes. I know the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole story's a metaphor, right? The whole story's a metaphor. Stay on the path, kids, and all this stuff. But anyway, so Eric is just insisting on taking this down horrible paths. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're wearing ankle braces, stop it. No. But work out. You don't just stop using them.
Yeah.
Wear, exercise your ankles. Look up online ankle stability exercises. You'll find tons of good ones. I doubt there's any bad ones, but there must be. But and then you can slowly start to embrace the idea of not wearing them. And as a coach, maybe I'm serious. If I'm coaching these days, I'm working on all this stuff. A few minutes every practice.
We didn't
Injury prevention.
We didn't make the obvious connection to knee pads. I mean,
what's the knee pad?
Well, like
Yeah,
you don't have to wear them, but like some people choose to wear them because maybe
they dive improperly.
Well, that's just it. Like once you learn how to dive, you don't need the knee pad anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, some players may maybe liberos may use them for certain.
Yeah, and some players might like to put their knee down on pass. That's a little more common
that's what
now.
I mean,
More on the beach than indoor, but like the one knee down, that's more of a beach pass. But some players come indoor and they do. They pick up those bad beach habits that we talked about. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, maybe that's where it comes from.
Last episode.
Once you figure out how to dive, you don't need the knee pads anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of similar, but
yeah. Oh, it doesn't weaken.
No, that's what I mean. It doesn't.
But it does enable you to do it wrong.
Right.
Yes.
If you're relying on the pad, yeah.
Yeah, it creates a false sense, and it leads to bad form. Yeah, you are. There's always something, right? Wherever there's external support, there's always an internal weakening going on. And you think about things in your own life, right? There's dependence.
If you think about teaching a kid to like ride a bicycle, like I don't think I never learned with the training wheels. I was just put on the bike.
A great one.
Because the training wheels, and because my niece is learning right now, and I just see her on the thing. I'm like, that's teaching her to like. It's not giving her
feedback loop.
Yeah. I was gonna say yeah, but it's weird because like the training wheels, they totally take away that. Yeah.
Yes. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, nobody's gonna be listening.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But the training wheels, that's the classic one.
I like these bikes. It's great. Like there's no pedals. The kid just sits on it, and there's some of them even have a bar, so the adult can just like kind of push them along, and then and then you can like grab them if they're really gonna have a bad fall.
Yeah.
Or you just let them fall. I don't know.
Let them fall a bit, and just put them in a helmet, and just to prevent a head injury, like you were talking about. Those are the injuries you want to prevent.
Yeah,
it's like my car engine. Like I don't know if I told you this, but 3 years ago, I was like, this car engine is making me so lazy, so I took the thing out.
Yeah.
The engine's gone.
Oh, I just started running places.
Yeah. No, I still take the car, but I've gone Flintstone style, where I cut out the floorboards and we use our feet.
And your hamstrings must be huge.
My hamstrings are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no engine. I'm like, this thing is making me.
That's why you're 4 inches taller.
That's why I'm 4 inches taller. That's why I can serve with no hands.
Yeah.
So okay.
Explains it all.
So ankle braces, we would say hard no.
Undebated.
The debate is settled. And
Undebate,
coaches,
debate.
If you're looking for an out, just say, hey, you guys, you know what? Let's work on our ankle stability today. And then you go through practice, and they're like, what about when you said we need ankle braces? And then you say, well, you know what? We don't need them anymore because we're working on ankle stability.
Yeah.
Yeah. That way you save face. Because that's the whole idea, right? You don't want to be like, oh, remember that thing I said for 20 years? Well, I'm going to unsay it. Don't say that. Just say, you know what? I decided it's better to give you guys ankle support internally. And then sell your stock in active ankles before you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brought to you by... No, I won't say. Everybody, I think that's it. Episode number 35 in the bank. And we'll hope to hear you guys, or you'll hear us next week.
Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. If we're not canceled.